I cut contact with my dad after he married stepmom, but years later, CPS calls me and says I'm guardian. The phone rang at 2 a.m., shattering the silence of my tiny apartment like a brick through a window. I fumbled for it, heart pounding, half expecting a drunk dial from some college buddy who never grew up. Instead, a tired voice from Child Protective Services said words that turned my world to ash. Ms. Emma Carter, you're listed as the legal guardian for Lily Carter, your half-sister. I hadn't spoken to my dad in 8 years, not since he married Karen, the woman who turned our family into a battlefield. I was 19 when I walked out, swearing I'd never look back. Dad chose her over me, or so I told myself, and I built a life without him, small, quiet, mine. Now, at 27, I was staring down a responsibility I didn't ask for a kid I didn't even know existed. Lily, 6 years old, was waiting at a CPS office, and I was her only shot at a home. The drive to the CPS office was a blur of headlights and regret. I kept picturing Dad's face, the way it softened when he talked about second chances, and how it hardened when I called Karen a gold digger. I wasn't wrong. She was all fake smiles and designer bags, worming her way into Dad's life after Mom died. I was 15 when Mom passed, and Dad was a ghost of himself until Karen showed up. I hated her for filling that void, for making him laugh again when I couldn't. By the time I left, our fights were legend-screaming matches that ended with me slamming the door and Dad letting me go. The CPS office smelled like stale coffee and despair. Lily sat in a corner, clutching a ratty teddy bear, her brown eyes too big for her face. She looked like Dad, same curly hair, same stubborn chin. The social worker, Miss Jenkins, handed me a file. Your father and stepmother were in a car accident, she said, her voice soft but clinical. They didn't make it. Lily's been with us for 3 days. Your father updated his will last year, naming you as guardian. I wanted to laugh, scream, anything to shake off the absurdity. Me, a guardian. I was barely keeping my own life together, working doubles at a diner to afford a studio apartment. I hadn't even known Dad had another kid. The file said Lily was born 6 years ago, right after I cut ties. Karen's daughter, but Dad's too. My sister. The word felt like a stranger in my mouth. Lily didn't speak when I took her home. She just held her bear and stared out the window. My apartment wasn't ready for a kid. No toys, no extra bed, just a couch and a fridge with half a pizza. I gave her my bed and lay awake on the couch, wondering how Dad could do this to me. Was this his way of forcing me back into his life, even after he was gone, or did he actually believe I could handle this? The next morning, Lily sat at my tiny kitchen table, picking at cereal. Are you my mom now? She asked, her voice so small it cracked something in me. I froze and spoon halfway to my mouth. No, kid, I said, trying to keep it light. I'm your sister, Emma. She nodded, like that made sense, but her eyes said she was still lost. Days turned into weeks, and Lily was a puzzle I couldn't solve. She was quiet, too quiet. But when she did talk, it was about Dad, how he'd read her stories, how he'd promised to take her to the zoo. She didn't mention Karen much, and I didn't ask. I was too busy juggling work, school runs, and CPS check-ins. My boss wasn't thrilled about my new mom schedule, and my savings were dwindling. But every time I looked at Lily, I saw Dad's eyes, and I couldn't walk away. One night, I found a box in Lily's backpack, stuffed with photos and letters. Most were of her and Dad, but one letter was addressed to me, in his handwriting. I waited until Lily was asleep to open it. Emma, it started. I know you hate me. I don't blame you. I failed you when you needed me most. But Lily's different. She's a chance to make things right. I trust you to love her, because you're stronger than I ever was. I cried for the first time since Mom died, angry and heartbroken all at once. He hadn't even said sorry, but somehow that letter felt like one. I started noticing things about Lily, how she'd flinch at loud noises, like she was waiting for something to break, how she'd cling to that bear like it was her only friend. CPS hinted at issues at home before the accident. but they didn't elaborate. I didn't need them to. I remembered Karen's sharp tongue, the way she dismissed me like I was nothing. I could imagine what she'd been like with Lily. One day, I took Lily to the park. She ran to the swings, laughing for the first time since she'd arrived. I watched her, this tiny piece of dad, and felt something shift. I wasn't just doing this for him anymore. I was doing it for her, for us. I started reading her stories at night, the way Dad used to. I saved up for a zoo trip, and her face when she saw the giraffes was worth every overtime shift. But it wasn't all sunshine. I messed up plenty burned dinners, forgot school forms, snapped at her when I was stressed. One night, she had a nightmare, screaming for Dad. I held her, feeling like a fraud, but she clung to me anyway. "Don't leave," she whispered, and I promised I wouldn't. For the first time, I meant it. Months passed, and CPS stopped hovering. My apartment started feeling like a home, with Lily's drawings on the fridge and her chatter filling the silence. I found a better job, one that let me be there for her. I even started therapy, unpacking the baggage I'd carried since Dad chose Karen. It didn't erase the past, but it helped me see him differently, not as the villain I'd made him, but as a flawed man who loved me in his messy way. One evening, Lily asked about Mom. I told her stories how Mom used to sing off-key, how she'd sneak us cookies before dinner. Lily listened, wide-eyed, then said, "I wish I'd met her." I hugged her tight, realizing I was giving her pieces of Mom, of Dad, of me. We were building something new, not perfect, but ours. Looking back, I don't know if Dad naming me guardian was a gift or a curse. Maybe both. It forced me to face the family I'd run from, to find strength I didn't know I had. Lily's not just my sister, she's my reason. I still wonder if I'm doing this right, if I'm enough, but when she smiles, I think maybe I am. What do you think? Did Emma do the right thing by stepping up for Lily, even after cutting ties with her dad? Or should she have walked away, given her own struggles? Share your thoughts. I'd love to hear where you stand.